And then, so right from there, went to Florida with Haley. And Haley's a lot better when it's like really low-key. She doesn't, I cannot stress her with details or numbers or lots of little things. So we kept it pretty relaxed. Rented a convertible, so she thought that was kind of fun. And you know, just, we knew what the race was going to be like. There were about 6 women that we thought were going to be a pretty tight pack. And again, like we talked about 3 different scenarios. Ashley Twitchell ended up winning the race, but that was a place where second was just as good as first. So it didn't really matter. It was like she was a second American. She got her spot to go to Portugal, and then we looked forward from there. And you know, I don't know if everybody knows how you actually get the selection criteria for London. It's a little bit different. It's not like a pool scenario. So the 2011 World Championships, so it's a year prior, they pick the top 10 men and the top 10 women. And the only way you can get 2 people qualified for the Olympics from your federation is if you do it here at World Championships. And the only people that did that, I think, or the other federations were Germany and Russia on the men's side. Alex Meyer qualified 4th, so he was already at Worlds, and we didn't have any women in the top 10. So that is why we did send some people to Portugal. And the host country always gets 1, so you're working backwards from a field of 25. So it was a relatively small group that comprised the Olympic qualifying swim. And I mean, that's just another thing too, is, you know, with Cancun and Portugal, there were going to be 60 people in the race, and then you go to London and there's only 25. So I felt like that played pretty well into OSA's hands. So this is just kind of comparing their strategies and what we did going into Portugal. So, you know, OSA only had to be 9th. He just had to be top 9. That was it. And so I felt pretty confident that he had learned enough from Cancun, he'd be able to be successful here. With Haley is a little different because the Team USA is in a really hard situation when you're there. You have 2 Americans and they're vying for 1 spot. They travel together, they do everything together. Eat meals, train together, and then the second the gun goes off, like there's 1 spot. So Haley loves the Hunger Games. So we kind of broke it down into that strategy of like, look, I don't want you focused on beating somebody else, but the only way you are going to qualify for London is if you win the race in Portugal. So, you know, we didn't want her focused on beating anybody, but just win the race, and then it will be fine. And she ended up, she did win, but so I was credentialed with Tunisia, so we had different pool training times than the US team, and Tim Murphy and Paul and Bryce Elser did an awesome job preparing the Americans like through 2012. So I give them a lot of credit. But I walk in one day, and you know, as a coach, like you sometimes time other people just to see, well, where they're at. So Haley was doing some 50s fast, and I walked in and I was getting her time. She was like 32. I was like, okay. And then Ashley was on the other side of the pool, and I timed her, and she was like 30 point. I was like, oh. I didn't tell Haley that, but again, I felt like I needed to really build her confidence and just kind of remind her that she had done a race in Argentina and Brazil in January. They put on 2 races back to back, and you know, this is where communication came in, is like, Dave, Haley really needs to go to this race in Argentina. I think it's important. And it was right after the Cal Stanford dual meet, and she just took off, went down to Brazil for a week, and it was great. She got 3rd. There were a lot of currents there, so I think that helped kind of build her confidence. And it was cold water, so knowing that, like, we had her take some ice baths every once in a while leading up to London. So with Osa, it was kind of a little bit different. Like, he did not want to go get on the course every single day. Haley, I could tell, yes, like, you need to make sure you get on there and practice some turns and make sure you practice the finish. And like, I'm dealing with a 20-year-old male. It's like, he's been to 3 Olympics. I mean, I'm going to get what I can get. So I was like, well, we're not going to do a lot of course training, but you need to watch the women's race and warm up before your race in a Speedo, so that it would feel really cold. And then when he put on his full body suit and dove in for the race, I thought, well, he'll be fine then. So that's kind of what I mean by just adapting to each swimmer, just like based on what I knew about them and what I thought was going to be important. And then I just, like lanolin was really important, just slather Ose up with that, and Haley too, and they'll be fine. And this is just a picture of the race, part of the race course. And there was actually an air show going on during the race, so I almost missed like one of the feeds because these big airplanes were going over, so it was pretty cool. And then that's just a picture of the feeding dock, and you know, we all have these feeding sticks and flags, and you put the flag on the end of the feeding stick. The one thing I always tell the athlete, whoever I'm working with, is as you're walking out to your race to the start, make sure you make visual eye contact, try to look for me, because a lot of times these guys you don't see them for probably an hour before the race starts. They have the coaches like taken out to the feeding dock ahead of time. So you're out there, if you're on a radio, that's great, you're getting information back to your swimmers. But with Tunisia, we didn't have that, so that was a little bit different. The other thing, his mom travels everywhere with him, and she only speaks Arabic and French, so that was like a little language barrier, but I did learn a couple little words in Arabic. So coming out of Portugal, they both won their respective races, so we're excited. They're going on to London. But I did have to, you know, we had to sit down and figure out what Haley was going to do, because this is before pool trials, and it's like, as a pool swimmer, you know, your swimmer wants to go to Olympic trials, and she's not the type of person that's going to just train right through it. So she entered all 6 events or 8 events that she had trial cuts in. Definitely scratched some of those by the end. She was happy with her 800. She was 3rd, and I think again that gave her a little bit of confidence. Just reminding her that we had this bigger goal, and that a little bit of rest for the 800 wasn't gonna hurt her. And you know, we went back and forth. Does she go to the domestic camp with the U.S. team? Does she go to Vichy, France with the pool team? And everybody else is going to be resting, and she's still going to be training. So you know, what are we going to do? And Dave sat down and talked with Frank and myself and Jack Roach, and you know, we didn't think 3 weeks in the Olympic Village was going to be a good idea. So she went to Canada and trained with Alex Meyer and Tim and the U.S. team. And that was a fabulous training camp. They went up to Roberval, and it's cold water there. They had access to a pool. They each were able to bring a training partner, which I think was key for Haley's success. She had Eva Fabian there to help her. And those of you that know Eva, she's a great open water swimmer. And I felt like Haley could continue to learn from her on the drafting portion of it. But Haley would be faster in the pool, so that would be good for her. And then they just showed up at the Village about a week before, so they overlapped about a day with the pool team. And so Ose was with the Danish team for a little bit, and then he ended up coming back to LA, and anyone that knows him knows that like he can have 3 different plans, and you just don't know which one we're gonna go with, so I just kind of had to roll with it. And he ended up coming back to LA and spent a couple weeks together before we went off to London. But at that point, we only had like Haley and Ose and maybe a couple other people were the only ones that were in the pool training. So I felt like I needed to make it as interesting as I could, like play kind of cat and mouse games. Like, Ose, you're going in 800, Haley, you're going to 700, you can't let him beat you. And then same thing for a 600. Ose, you got a 600, Haley, you have a 500, and you know, don't let him catch you. And so I just tried to mix it up like that and give them different barriers as 400, 300, 200, 100, all fast, but making sure that they were kind of racing each other a little bit so that they always had something that they were working towards. And kind of giving like mental cues in the middle of training, I think it was important for these guys, like just constantly reminding Haley, like, well, you know how you're going to feel with a 200 left. Like, you know so-and-so is going to be breathing to your right. So I try to constantly remind them of putting different scenarios in their head so they have a visual image when they're training in the pool. And then this is just a picture. One day I was kind of craving Roscoe's fried chicken and waffles. It's down in Long Beach. And so I like texted Chip and Emily Bruneman, and I was like, hey guys, we're going to go down to Long Beach. We're going to do a workout and then go eat breakfast. So I thought it was pretty cool. This is like a perfect example of why I think open water is so fun. Is like these guys all show up, they want to help train, they enjoy just kind of talking about open water, and and helping, Emily knows she's helping Haley prepare. So I think that was kind of a fun thing to do to get ready to go. And then I guess fast forward to being in London. I always knew like Osa's main plan was to swim the mile. I think in the back of his head, he knew, yes, I want to win a gold medal in the 10K, but it was like one step at a time. We got to London, decided to drop the 400 and just stay focused on kind of the longer events. I think it was a really good call. Any pace work we did in London was all based on the mile, and anything extra was just like yardage that I just felt like adding an extra easy yardage just to make sure that we kept the volume up a little bit. So it would be like with fins and paddles or pulling, things like that. And I think he did a great job as far as staying focused on the mile. After he was in the prelims, I think he was 14:47, and he felt great about that swim, and came back the next day and won a bronze medal. And it's like, okay, on to the next. And this is kind of where I had to be a little more flexible, because Haley just showed up and everything is new for her. So she's excited by every little thing. Whereas, I've been there for 2 weeks, and so it was good because it kind of kept me re-energized. Ose had the flu right after the mile, and I don't know if it was the 10K flu or what, but he got a little extra rest. It wasn't what I wanted. Obviously, I wanted to get on the course a couple of more times than he did, but I just felt like we did the best that we could. The times that he did go get on the course, which was maybe 2 times, we just made sure that he practiced like swimming out and into the finish and sighting a couple things and just getting a feel for the race course. And one of the things, like, every time you go to a race, like you kind of think about the 3 C's, and that's the course, the conditions, and the competition. And we knew the competition. We knew who the top 25 people were going to be for both of them. The course. This is one aspect where, like, I couldn't tell Haley, okay, well, this turn is a 90-degree angle, and then this one is 360, because, like, that just stresses her out. Alex Meyer can 100% visualize his race, and he knows every angle of everything. But like with Haley, it's not what she needs. So, just kind of, again, keeping her relaxed. We knew the water was going to be flat and cold, which I don't even think it ended up being that cold, but everybody kind of made a big deal that it was going to be. So I just told them the faster that you swim, the sooner it's over. It doesn't really matter. Everybody's in the same situation. And so here's Haley just kind of, like, as you see, she just hangs on all the finish pads. That's getting numbered, and like she's very methodical with her feeds. And so she, as you see on the right, she has like all of her gels, I don't know if you can tell, laid out, and she numbers the bottles and writes, I want this one on this lap. And her strategy was actually pretty similar to Ose. Is like, we had decided the course was 6 laps, and so they were both going to be prepared to feed on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th lap. I was also going to be ready on the 5th lap with like their one extra feed just in case. But we had talked about, if you don't feed, then that's when you go ahead and make your move and just go. And that's what they both did in Portugal and in London. One of the things, this is the Serpentine, it just kind of shows, it was a great venue. There were just people on all sides. The video coverage was fantastic, and it was really loud. Like, I think the swimmers could hear the fans, and so it was definitely a great venue. And I know Rio is going to be awesome as well. I was there for Pan Am's in 2007, and they love open water in South America. So I know it is going to be outstanding.